Good morning, Roy.
Good morning.
Excellent. So, Roy, it's an absolute pleasure to have you participate in our CTO News Thursday blog series. CMB.TECH is doing some fantastic work within the maritime space with regards to dual fuel economy. And, it'll be great to learn more about your organization, and just to learn about how you're using sort of dual fuel and biomass technologies to, whether it be improve your fleet of ships. So to begin with, excellent. Please, could you introduce yourself, Roy, please?
Yes, hello. So my name is Roy Campe. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for CMB.TECH, and CMB.TECH is the clean tech division of our shipping group, CMB.
Excellent. So what did you study at university and how did you get into technology?
Yeah, so I studied in the Netherlands, in Delft, at the Delft University of Technology as aerospace engineer. So maybe a bit weird to enter, let's say, into the shipping world, but maybe to explain a bit is that the beauty of let's say, an aircraft is that it can only fly if you're working with the best compromise. It's not the best structure, it's not the best engine, it's the combination that needs to be the best in order to have, let's say, the aircraft to take off. And I think that philosophy that I was being trained with, I'm also trying to implement on the other projects I'm working on now.
Brilliant. Excellent. Understood. So, you've got quite an interesting background. You've worked a lot in R&D environments. You've worked for various sectors, chemical, automotive, wind tunnel, etc. What was your journey prior to CMB.TECH?
Yeah. So indeed, it was a quite special one. It just started that I studied at university for my master's thesis. I was working on a new technology of boundary layer suction. So it's about making a bit of the let's say aerodynamic surface porous, trying to aspirate a little bit of air through that porous surface to improve the aerodynamics of that application. And we started implementing that technology as some kind of spin-off from the university into, let's say, the racing industry. So we implemented it into the Formula Renault front wing. We also worked, let's say, for some other premium car brands, but also into windmill blades. It's a very suitable technology to improve the performance over there. So indeed, I started as a spin-off company, whereas I was the founder together with another study friend. I founded the company ActiveFlow, looked for investors, looked for some subsidies so that we could start developing, let's say, these prototypes, test them into the field. But then, our company suffered some, let's say, crises. We had the 2008 crisis in which all the automotive went down, so we lost a bit of our contracts. We went into the wind energy. Also, 2012 there was a bit of crisis. So after a few crises, which we all survived, we also looked what is the beauty of our team. And then we looked at that we, let's say, continued not just as a developer of the technology, but that we also became consultants for, let's say, designing with air and fluid flows. So we started to develop, let's say, breathing apparatus, an infant incubator, ventilation into buildings, even a bicycle, even wind tunnels. That our engineering team grew. But also after a few years, let's say we reached some kind of stagnation that around 12 engineers, let's say the growth of a company was a bit limited. And then, we were like thinking, okay, what is next in my career? What can I do different? And I think the entrepreneuring in my side and myself was, let's say, prevailing to say like, okay, maybe I'm up to some kind of new task. And then I started working partly at the University of Ghent at their Innovation Incubation Center, which has a focus into, let's say, the offshore energy efficiency. And thought like, okay, maybe there are some opportunities, maybe some new startups, which I can, let's say, have my role into. But then after 2 years, I noticed that working partly in an innovation center, partly at your own company, you end up in some kind of conflict. And then by coincidence, I met the CEO of CMB, who he was like, let's say, approaching Ghent University. Look, I'm having, let's say, a lot of assets, having a fleet of around 100 ships. The majority of them are 300 meters long, have a lifetime of 25 years. And decarbonization which will flow into our sector, will have a big impact. And I'm looking for somebody who, let's say, is not part of shipping, but who has experience from other industries. So at that time as consultant, I worked for the chemical industry, the pharmaceutics. So I had the opportunity to look into all these kind of R&D environments. They say like, okay, I'm not an expert on let's say on the maritime, but I have seen how innovation goes in other industries. I'm willing to take up that challenge. And that was in fact the start of CMB.TECH. At the time we called it CMB Technologies still. And I started with a clean sheet of paper, how we can address the topic of decarbonization in shipping. And like anybody else, you start with, okay, batteries. If you're carrying, if your ship is carrying 180,000 tons of iron ore, maybe you can also carry a heavy battery. Maybe we're going to have the Tesla of the ships that we started building. But then after a few weeks, it was a very easy calculation showing that batteries in our industry, if you have engines operating at 15 megawatts, sailing for 2-3 weeks, there is no battery that can, let's say, sustain that. It's not affordable technology. And how are we going to charge that kind of solutions? So then it was a bit on our CEO who pushed me, let's say, we need to have a good engineering team. We need to have, let's say, some kind of lighthouse project, which is 10 years ahead of its time. And he gave me the assignment, look into something that can be hydrogen powered, but maybe at a smaller scale, that we can gain expertise and we can create a good team around it to, let's say, get the knowledge that is necessary to develop our new ships. And that's how our journey started in CMB. That's now 7.5 years ago. And yeah, through that journey, we started with something small. We worked on a small passenger ferry. It is the world's first that was powered by hydrogen, by dual fuel combustion engines. Because also in that development of that project, we also noticed that fuel cell technology is rather expensive. It's rather unknown in the maritime. Also that the requirements for maritime are quite harsh. It needs to be very robust and also needs to be very powerful. And there you see that, the fuel cell technologies was not at that stage. But above all, we noticed that bringing a clean fuel on board of your ship also brings some challenges. And the luxury we had from, let's say, running on diesel, we need to like say, accept that we cannot have the same luxury. On the opposite side, shipping also faced already some fuel changes in the past. If you look a few hundred years ago, everything was still, let's say, wind powered. And then suddenly we came steam powered by using coal. And I can tell you, bringing all these coal on board of a ship is also not an easy task. Referring to the Titanic, most known, that ship consumed 800 tons of coal. So you can assume if the ship was sailing for 10 days in the port, there was a lot of manual interaction, and all these coals had to be with a shovel, need to be brought to these furnaces to be used. I can tell you, we have done that on shipping, and these ships sailed. And then looking further, we went from coal to diesel. And I think now we are up to making the change from let's say from diesel to gas. And there you see that on our technology development for hydrogen, which we believe is the right choice for, let's say, ships that can refuel quite often, and that we have identified for our ships which are sailing through the oceans, will be ammonia powered, because ammonia is a very good carrier of hydrogen, in fact. And also the technology of ammonia storage handling on ships is quite known. So as we speak, we are developing that technology as well. But to go back to our first project is that you need to have a design team. You need to have, let's say, your authorities need to also be trained. You need to not understanding it from Google desktop research. No, you should be, let's say, realizing a project and then understanding what a full project entails. It's more like from concept, building something, operating something, getting it insured, getting it maintained, all that knowledge, and every aspect we learn something. It's that knowledge that is crucial in order to scale up. So if we looked into our journey over the past, let's say 6 years, is that we started with a small passenger ferry. Then we started looking into a bigger passenger ferry. Then we started looking into a more powerful cruise transfer vessel, something that brings technicians to the offshore windmill. So you're talking about an application of more than 2,000 horsepower in a small ship, sailing at high speeds to the water on bringing the technicians offshore. And our latest application we're now working on is, in fact, a tugboat. It has, let's say, 4 megawatts of power. It's like a sailing engine, that will be equipped with 400 kilograms of hydrogen. So you see that on technology, on the size of budgeting, on the teams involved to get it working, we always, let's say, have a gradual approach and not something that can deliver within 4 or 5 years. No, having a target, let's say every 9 months, every year, we have some kind of project which is upscaling our skills, upscaling, let's say, our challenges that we are faced with. And we think this is the right way to start that adventure. And a lot of people, and I think, and it's important that I'm spreading out this message that you can't wait and have the philosophy, I will be a very quick follower. No, you need to have, even inside CMB in the beginning, there was some resistance because shipping is known as a conservative market. If you come up with something new, something about hydrogen where there's no references, people call you crazy. You're crazy. You're spending money of the company. What is the use of it? And that by starting small, showing them that it works, that indeed we still have to learn a lot, but people seeing like, okay, this is how it works. And by doing these projects, we, let's say, developed also the knowledge how to run these projects, but also partners who also have, let's say, key technology to help us now approach us. Instead of we had to hunt for good technologies, now partners who have good technologies, they approach us. Okay, CMB.TECH, we have something that could be interesting for your fleet. Can we discuss the options? Can we, because we are seeing that CMB is a front runner, is leading that transition. So I think you're maybe the easy catch for us to start implementing that technologies. So you see that even these early demonstrators, that not only on knowledge, but also, let's say, on our partners, on our cooperation, how we structure this kind of cooperation, how we de-risk them. Yeah, that was quite valuable approach. And you see that today our team is growing, the amount of projects we are doing, we are growing. And it's most above all, it's fun to be participating in this, let's say, winning team. And I'm glad that I can have my role in it and steering that, motivating the people to achieve our goals, in fact.
Absolutely. And absolutely great to learn, your journey, whether it be from the various industries that you've worked in. You mentioned Renault, and I recently read actually that Alain Prost, who's a famous racing car driver, literally said that Adrian Newey, who is their chief technology officer, he is basically the best person, or the F1's best man, if that makes sense. So he's written is there an article about him. And obviously, it seems as though that CMB.TECH, you sort of had that vision of being a beacon for, whether it be fuel technology within the maritime space. And, it sounds as though that your goal started out as a waterfall environment where you iteratively had you basically scaled up from a small vessel to a larger vessel, basically, but you're using that agile methodology in delivering the outcomes. So,
also making the steps reachable. You can't make big jumps at once, because we also had learning lessons, but you prefer to make learning lessons on something small, but having these principles also in the team, because even the team is growing, you can educate the team, but you can say it twice, you can say it true, but if they have seen it themselves, learn it themselves, this is the best school, I would say. And all that knowledge is being, let's say, absorbed and is being spread into the team. And I think it's quite key to face our challenges. And we see, even for ourselves, our roadmap is still it's not finalized. I think we have a roadmap of more than 10 years that we feel like, okay, this type of ship, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do that. That we feel like you can't be a quick follower. Even inside your team, like on the contracting side, it is like working with a new fuel. There are new principles. How do you do your contracting? There needs to be some kind of fuel mechanism inside. But how do you sell that to your customers? What is a fair approach that also the customer feels like, okay, I can live with that if it's linked to an energy price or whatever? That's experience and you need together. Also with new technologies, like, okay, what if something fails? What if we need to do the aftercare? How are we going to set that up? Because that will become crucial if we further scale up. I don't believe in that, to be a quick follower in that industry, that, let's say, developing a new ship takes easily 3 years from first idea to start building it. Realistically, it takes sometimes 4 years. If you see what the energy transition having an effect on our industry, I think it's going much quicker than most people think it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Absolutely true. Brilliant. Okay, so you've touched on this, and I'd just like to learn a bit more in terms of you went from a team of one to a team of 80,
Yeah.
and 80 engineers. It'd be great just to learn a bit as to how you grew that team and any lessons learned that could be shared with our audience.
Yeah. So I had the luxury to, let's say, select most of the people. And yeah, let's say if you look towards just the workflow which we have here, for example, at the head office in Antwerp, is that I always look into complementary skills. So looking into the age, I have people who just came from the school banks, and I have people who are already over 60, but everybody brings a unique knowledge to the team. And I always, let's say, as you're working on an innovation, it was not easy to find people who had the right, let's say, technology skills, but more like having the mindset that I face you with a blank sheet of paper. Are you happy to, yeah, create something out of that? And knowing that everybody who's joining, they accept we're not the experts. I need to listen to the team, have their feedback. So I think everybody is valued in our team. Everybody gets a lot of freedom in return. And what I see is that everybody's working very hard because, yeah, it's also part of their design choices why we made this, why we have selected that. And then it's more like their, yeah, it's part of their idea they are working on. So I don't need to, let's say, push my people to work hard. No, it's more like the opposite. Say, guys, find the right balance and make certain that, yeah, also the home front is happy. That it's not all about hard work, but I see that, and I'm very, let's say, blessed to have a hardworking team who is, let's say, 200% motivated to get the job done, to get things moving. And there's also something that, yeah, we work into a framework of a company who's led by owners who also foster that. They foster that, okay, good ideas, we listen to good ideas. We're not, let's say, fixed into some kind of formal, let's say, meeting structure that we go from one meeting to another meeting without having, let's say, that drive, without having that concrete output. No, I think, I very much dislike these standard meetings where you always, let's say, copy pasting from the previous meeting, the table of contents. No, I rather have when a meeting is important, we have it with the right people, and we have concrete action points how to move forward. And I'm rather give direction to the people. Look, this is where we want to go as a company instead of, okay, this is now your job for today. This is what you need to do tomorrow. I give, let's say, full flexibility to the team. If they want to go on holidays, if they want to leave early to home, I give full flexibility. It's more like if there is something that needs to be addressed, yeah, I also am expecting that, let's say, flexibility to be returned. And I think maybe it's the new way of working that, yeah, has, let's say, a big effect, but also have the advantage that I could select these people who can operate into that frame. So I think, yeah, maybe half of the team joined in that kind of way. Also, we did an acquisition of a small, let's say, engineering team
Yeah,
that, from our point of view, had very crucial knowledge about dual fuel technology. I think they were the world's, let's say, leaders on the dual fuel combustion technology. And they also had some test cells, they had some workshops that we have, let's say, acquired that team to, let's say, be part of the CMB.TECH. And that we have spent time and a lot of time on, let's say, transforming that independent company to be, let's say, to be the department of our, let's say, clean tech division. And then, yeah, that company is also located in UK. So we have some, let's say, cultural differences, language barriers. But yeah, that's a process that, yeah, took some time. But I think looking back, yeah, it's, let's say, bringing people into the same direction, showing them the light at the horizon, which is getting brighter by the day. I think that gives a warm feeling to people. Everybody wants to work in a winning team. Everyone wants to play the Champions League. Everybody wants to win.
yes,
And I see that in the spirit and the eyes of the team around us that, yeah, people are motivated. And if you have motivated people, you have good working people, and you have good working people, you have bright ideas. Yeah, I think yeah, some nice technologies will still be announced over the next months, where people see like, okay, CMB.TECH, wow, they are leading the waves, and yeah, we should join the team. We should be cooperating, and therefore, I'm very happy to have that, let's say, freedom, freedom of the management, freedom of the people, and I would like to give back to the team as much as possible, because they're making the difference for our company.
Absolutely, absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. And that quite nicely leads us to our next question, which is, I know we've had obviously previous conversations, and you once mentioned to me that, it doesn't always, the question is, why doesn't working with innovation work in the shipping industry, and is integration more favorable?
Yeah, yeah. I hope I understand your question correctly, that the problem with shipping is that it's a very conservative market. Is
Right.
that people live on board of a ship. You don't just try something. That's a people house. If you're in the middle of the ocean,
Yeah.
and I can tell you, also sailed as part of my journey in CMB, also sailed on board of a ship, went through some kind of very bad weather. I was happy that this was a proven technology. What we're trying to do more is that our innovation is more looking into what has already been proven in the other industries, how we can bring that to shipping. And that's also the reason why we have a strong belief in the dual fuel technology, because the drivetrain of a combustion engine is not bad. It's more the fuel that it uses. If you're working on a carbon carrier, carbon fuel, like let's say like diesel or a methanol or an, let's say methane gas, these are, let's say, pollutants, because they are, let's say, creating the CO2 emissions, which has, let's say, these well-known effects. That we believe that we should only bring, let's say, the new fuel on board, use the existing technology on how to transform heat and pressure into some kind of mechanical motion of propeller. That's fully proven. We should not change that concept. We just should look at how we bring that fuel on board and how we can use it as fuel into the engine. And how to bring it on board, we just look into what is known technologies in the industry. And then you see that hydrogen, it's already for 60 years in use in our port environment. Like the Port of Antwerp is producing around 380,000 tons of hydrogen on a yearly basis.
Wow.
It's also being transported. So we just look at, okay, what kind of storage mechanisms do you have over there? What kind of, let's say, procedures do they apply? And then just do the check. How can we marinize these procedures to be applicable in our industry? So it's more like, instead of working from scratch, totally new concept, we look into what is proven as storage, what is proven as a drivetrain, what are proven valves and lines, and try to bring it on board. And that's affordable if you start something small, scale it up, that's now we are having, let's say, our own standards that we feel like, okay, this is from cost point of view the best solution to, let's say, offer to these hydrogen powered chips. And on the ammonia powered chips, we also see, okay, these are the right concepts to work on for these large ocean going chips. So it's more like, instead of innovating, it's more like imitating what is there in other industries and trying to bring it towards our conservative market. But there is a reason why we are conservative. There's a lot of money involved. There's a very long lifetime. And also in these ports, it takes time. And then you can understand that the dual fuel approach is, probably a very easy one to kickstart with. And there we see there's a lot of enthusiasm, and we find a lot of partners who are willing to join our efforts in this journey.
Absolutely. And I think, it'd be also quite interesting to, where you talk about that sort of dual fuel approach, is the end goal to get to a mono-fuel environment?
Correct. Yeah, correct. So if you look towards, all our ships are now started with dual fuel.
Yeah.
Because let's say only 2 years ago, we had our first hydrogen refueling station. So also in Antwerp, we developed a hydrogen production and refueling station, which is a world's first that could supply hydrogen molecules to a ship.
Okay.
We also are, let's say, filling up tube trailers, and these tube trailers can drive into the port to fill up the application. So it is a chicken and egg story.
Yeah.
And I think that chicken and egg story will be there for probably quite some time.
Right.
But also looking at, it's not that you have one refueling station that all the ships can do zero emission. No, you need to have backups. Also, our refueling station is let's say needs maintenance. Maybe sometimes there's some alarm, some some kind of checks that needs to happen, that there is no possibility to refuel. It's part of the technology. It's a rather complex technology. Then we feel like, okay, for our industry, dual fuel will remain for quite some time. But for ships who, let's say, have an operation between two ports where you have redundancy, availability of the molecule,
Yeah.
a dual fuel combustion engine can be easily swapped with a monofuel combustion engine without changing anything to the ship. It's more like omitting the diesel technology, but the combustion technology is more like, let's say, igniting or burning hydrogen, which generates heat and pressure, and that pushes a piston up and down, and that mechanical motion is being translated into the rotation of a propeller. And we have ships designs which already, let's say, have a combination of some dual fuel engines and one monofuel engine, that you can say, look, up to a certain speed, we can sail monofuel, but if there is no hydrogen available, even the backup dual fuel ones can still run on diesel, still doing the job as we speak. So we have these concepts in development, and we think this is the right choice. And I think once the technology is, let's say, ready, available, yes, we can go to monofuel, meeting with the latest emission standards. But for now, it's a chicken and egg story that we need to address.
Excellent, Roy. So that being said, what is the cheapest way of delivering emission reduction using diesel and hydrogen, in your opinion?
It goes without saying that I think it starts with dual fuel technology. Why? Is that what we see is the most costly part of our, let's say, energy transition is the cost of the molecule, is also the cost for storage. And then you can, the inherent beauty of dual fuel is that you only store on board of your ship what you are typically using. You don't need to store into redundant capacity or the extra redundant capacity, because what we typically have as redundant fuel capacity in shipping is huge. It's not like with your car, you say the light bulbs up at 50 kilometers range. Oh, you need to refuel. Oh, for shipping, it's like, if you need to have a range of, let's say, 500 kilometers, you want to have 1500 kilometers of range just to be on the safe side. If you have bad weather, adverse currents, it can have a very big effect on your fuel consumption. So we believe that what you typically use is what you need to store on board of your ship. Also that, we are still working, let's say, in a dual fuel mixture, meaning that if we have, let's say, a customer who's saying, look, I have emission targets for this year, only 30% emission reduction is required. That's only my budget that I can pay for. With dual fuel, you can tune for that. If the year after he's now requesting, I want to have 40%, and you're after 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%. So you can tune, let's say, without having to, let's say, start investing into an application. It's your one frame, your one application can offer to say, let's say, easily 80, some applications, 85% of the emission savings can be easily achieved. And that also the ways you organize your backups, that if you're working on alternative drive lines with batteries or fuel cells, you need to have backup means. Our backup means is diesel. That's known, it's available everywhere. So you can understand that for the cost of your ship with a dual fuel is a very slightly extra cost. And our belief is that if people are willing to invest 1 million, we believe that dual fuel can give the most emission savings, because you can say, you know what, that 1 million I put into 3 vessels, 3 trucks, 5 port equipments, and that can have a much bigger scaling effect than spending all your money into one basket and then suffering like, oh, today there is no hydrogen supply, so I can't do any job today, I can't make money because I'm dependent on that only one gas supplier who can offer me that clean fuel. And there, I think, that's a beauty that our concept can start today, even if the infrastructure is not there. And as soon as the infrastructure starts to grow, we can, let's say, anticipate on that. But we're not 100% dependent on it. Just imagine if you are a gas supplier, you knowing there is that kind of ship, it can't sail out unless he buys at your determined price the cost of the molecule. What do you think if there is another ship running on dual fuel? Who will pay the most for that fuel, that clean fuel? I think the one who really needs it. The owner says, look, I can also refuel at another port unless I'm willing to buy for that price. So there is market mechanism. And if there's market mechanisms, I think you end up in a situation where both the gas supplier is making some money, the shipping company makes some money, and also the customer for whom we are transporting makes some money. And I think that's a sustainable business, that's a durable business. And I think a dual fuel platform is there, let's say, to be part of for the next 20 years. And even that we can grow towards monofuel as well.
Brilliant.
So that's our vision. And in order to demonstrate it even further, is that we know shipping is a bit of let's say, a not visual world. It's not many people see all these ships. We should imagine 80% of the goods around us, that television, your desk, is probably one shipped on board of a ship. We also now started working into our ship comes into the port. Okay, these have container handlers, so also that container needs to be taken off of the ship. That's an operation of, let's say, in full shift, one after the other. There's no time to recharge batteries. It's like when the ship is there, it needs to be out as soon as possible. And that even for the last mile, when we put that container to the warehouse, we use a truck. So now we have a program of 200 dual fuel trucks bringing, let's say, goods from the port to the end customers. They all come back to the port area where we believe, these will become hotspots for hydrogen technology. Is it not only for the ships who's going to use it? It's also for the port equipment who needs to run on that. And it's also for the trucks that needs to run on it. So also in our portfolio of applications, we see that, look, our trucks is part of it because we're bringing that car towards its end destination. And above all, due to that truck program, we suddenly become one of the larger buyers of hydrogen equipment. You can imagine 200 trucks, they all have 6 hydrogen tanks. Yeah, we suddenly buy 1,200 hydrogen tanks. You can imagine that the cost difference when you're just doing, let's say, on cruise transfer vessel, you have 26 tanks, and then you have another one. These are still low volume. And now we can take profit of having a large volume product where we can optimize, standardize our design procedures, standardize our warranties, after sales, our components, those spare parts. They feel like, even these programs have a big effect, positive, favorable effect on our shipping world, and vice versa. That if people start considering to do a refueling station to, let's say, refuel 5 of these tugboats, then you can also easily do 50 of these trucks, and they all go hand in hand, and they're going to be supportive toward each other. And that's how we feel that, the energy transition must find its way into the maritime. It will start at ports, then multiple ports will have such kind of infrastructure, and then you have your first ships going from one port to the other. And when it's that reliable, we think the monofuel technology is there, is already being developed, and we are ready to implement it. But it has to go hand in hand.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. And we are, as you mentioned, there are some ports that are looking at going in that direction. So, it's great to see that you're sort of leading the way on that charge sort of thing. Brilliant. So can you talk about the Lloyd's List Technology Leader Award that you won last year?
Yeah. Well, one, I was nominated to be, I think it was number 4 or something. I was happy. It was just above somebody from MAN. It's a company we respect very much, and I feel like, okay, I was let's say nominated just on top of that. For me was a bit of surprise that I don't have, let's say, a very long track history into the shipping. As I said, I'm now working for 7.5 years for the CMB group with full pleasure. And that, to be rewarded on that level, I was very happy. But also I see it as a reward for the group, for the reward of the colleagues, because this is not, I think, a personal reward. This is more like, okay, a recognition of what CMB.TECH is doing, what CMB is leading, that energy transition that organization wants to recognize. And then, I'm having the honors to, let's say, steer that it was my face, my name behind it, but I more see it as a group effort, and I'm happy with this reward because, as you can imagine, it gives energy to the team. It's the oxygen that we need to take up the bigger hurdles, climb that mountain, because making the energy transition is not an easy ride. It's like every day climbing a mountain and dragging the carriage forward. This is what we need to do, and still for, let's say, many years to come. And I'm happy that that is recognized. Yes.
Brilliant. That's absolutely fair, and great to see that you recognise your colleagues and everyone's sort of participation, collaboration in creating that environment for you to receive the award. So that's really great to see. Okay, so what does CMB.TECH look to see in direct or indirect partnership engagements within the sector?
Yeah. I think partnerships is key in order to scale up. You can develop everything yourself, but yeah, even that we have now grown to 80, and I can tell there's a lot of vacancies on our website, that the real strength is into connecting the dots. And I think there CMB is quite unique. We're not, let's say, the biggest ship owner in the world who can do everything themselves. We're also not a small player. I think we are quite unique, positioned in the middle, that if we build ships, we look at the best yard to build them. We look at the best, let's say, naval architect, the best class, or let's say the experts. We bring them on the table and we give them direction. Look, this is what we think is a future-proof ship. This is what we need to develop. We motivate them. We challenge them to make certain that they don't do just like, say, their standard solution. We challenge them to come up with the best. And then if you look towards the growth itself, we have entered into a partnership with MAN to develop these engines. And I can tell you, it also started like in the beginning. Maybe it's easy to do everything ourselves, but there is so much knowledge into a Volvo Penta, into a Ford, into an ABC, that I feel like I'm not the expert. They are the experts. They're doing their business already for decades successfully. We just need to give them, look, these engines need to run on that clean fuel. And if they have concerns, we address these concerns. We do extra testing. We are maybe a bit crazy in the beginning that we paid for a lot of developments just to showcase them. This really works. This is a good idea. And also we have the full picture. As an engine manufacturer, you're just seeing, I need to sell engines. And if I have questions, I change something on my engines. We see the full concept. We see that it's not monofuel, how to kickstart. We see that on the storage implementation on board of a ship, it's difficult to allow that monofuel today because there's a lack of infrastructure. It's difficult to have such a big step trying to find customers, find a shipyard who is willing to look like, I never built that. There's so much unknowns. The cost is too high. Oh, sorry, I'm too busy. You need to have small steps which is affordable, and with right partnerships, you can do it. And also, if you talk towards our partners, they also say like, we believe into hydrogen, but before we can bring something into the market, it takes 3-4 years of development time. It's a chicken and egg story. It'll cost us so much money. We don't see it happening. So even on their side, we feel like, okay, we are bringing you also an application in which you can test. We are bringing your knowledge. We are looking into the storage solution. We are looking into the refueling solution. We bring all, let's say, the eggs together, all the dots together. We connect them. We say, look, you can be in the future. You will be supplying these engines. I'm going to be an engine manufacturer. Look, your partner, you will be supplying our hydrogen solutions, storage solutions. Look, you will be building the ship. And then we have the finance. We have our customers. We are at the pivoting point where we bring all these stakeholders together. And what we believe today is answering the needs of, okay, we need to have a low carbon transport, but it needs to be affordable. It needs to be robust. There needs to be a business case. And I think that's the beauty that, you can never achieve is trying to do everything yourself, because you need to do so much learning lessons. You need to have your team. It's too risky. By creating these smart partnerships and steering them. And I think that's the beauty of let's say, a shipping owner that uses the pyramid model. Like, we are steering these partnerships. We are still in control of what is happening. It's not like sometimes with subsidies, it's like everybody has its own stake, but they need to cooperate. No, this is one party who feels like, I need to have this ship. I believe there is a business case behind. Engine manufacturer, can you assist me on that engine to run on dual fuel? And I want to have the sweet spot in that area. Please spend your efforts for engineering, testing to have that sweet spot even sweeter. And that's our job, to challenge them and trying to create a business case, which in the beginning is not easy for trying to be a technology leader. It's as I said, an aircraft can only fly because you have the right balance. And you need to understand, of course, a bigger engine is always better, but no, that's good enough. And also from the ship side, but that's big enough. And that's trying to understand all these aspects, trying to have the sweet spot of everything, glue them together, and then I think our project can fly. And that's our job to to identify and to move forward.
Absolutely. It sounds as though that's like a monolith project management environment where you're literally trying to, as you said, bring all the various pieces together, but bring all the various pieces together at the right time, at the right quantity, and at the right level of output that's intended for the environment. So understood.
And then you can also understand that having reference projects that they can sail on. I can tell you that without our first hydrofoil, we could never have started, let's say, our medium speed development with ABC engines.
Got you.
Because I feel like, they're crazy guys. Oh, but they have built a hydrogen refueling station. They have a hydrogen electrolyzer in operation. They have a tube trailer. They have a tugboat being built. They have these trucks driving around. They have these excavators. They have these projects all over the world that are becoming dual fuel and allowed by governments, that they use. Like, well, how did you do that approval work? Look, that's a safety case. We did these studies. We showed it. It works. And you see, it gives comforts to also new entities that they feel like, oh, but you have succeeded the project in Japan, you have done in Belgium, you have done this, you have built that, you have that cooperation. I can tell you, the first cooperation with the manufacturer is the most difficult one. Your second one, you already understand how he thinks, how his organization works. And on third ones, you feel like, I think this is the best setup, and these guys are looking like, yeah, why not? I think this can work. And then you see that, you have that 1 + 1 = 3 approach.
Yes.
And then you see it reflected into our solutions, which I think are future-proof, reliable, clean, and that's required to have a sustainable business for us.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. All right. So, what do you do to stay current with technology?
I read a lot, and I like it. Even like this weekend, I was sitting in front in my living room. The kids were playing. I read a lot about CSP technology, like say concentrated solar power. It's for our project in Namibia. We are developing a very large scale plant, and that's what I like is reading stuff and trying to, let's say, being teased about how could that technology work into your sector. So I read about it, and I even watch YouTube just to hear, let's say, even these talks from other people, which you sometimes can see everywhere. Just get inspired and trying to get the rationale behind, the direction behind is like, okay, that's their philosophy. So I'm always open to, let's say, to listen, to read, to hear how others are doing it. And I think I'm not that stubborn to see it's my own vision, and I don't listen to the others. No, I like to be challenged. I like to be there to come up with these new ideas. And unfortunately, we have so much work ongoing that I can only read, let's say, during the evenings or during the weekend. But as an engineer, isn't it our hobby to be involved with technology, having your freedom to see the topics in which we are, let's say, focusing ourselves, trying to learn more, it's difficult to find the right balance. Of course, I want to be more busy with it, to trying to capture more knowledge. On the other hand, I like to have concrete projects as well. And currently, I'm having a very good balance. I think also the team has a good balance. And of course, if you talk to people, say, it's a lot of stuff ongoing and we are very busy. But I think at the end, an engineer wants to be busy. He wants to realize stuff. And I think, every couple of months, there's like a new application going to be launched, putting it into operation. Is that, that ups and downs. I think engineers want it to work in that rhythm. Also myself, if I do a standard 9 to 5 copy paste of last year, I think I would be bored quite easily. I will also lose my energy for it. Finding that with the right team, the right balance, is a challenge, I admit.
No, I hear you. And that being said, then, what technology most interests you from sort of all your readings and watching YouTube, etc., and everything that you've done in terms of keeping current with technology? Which technology that most interests you?
Well, I think the energy transition is very much linked to our business because, let's say shipping is still, let's say, transporting as cargo most of the carbon fuels, like oil, coal. It affects our business. So our project in Namibia, where we can, let's say, produce just from sun and water, we're gonna start producing our fuels. For me, that's that's the future where we need to go to. You can say some people like energy transition will take more time. I feel that we bring a lot of, let's say, promising technologies to that country, which has the potential to massively upscale, and we need to do that because if you look, uh, our ships have more than 2 gigawatts of power pushing our propellers. That's
Wow.
more than 2 nuclear power stations that we have on board. So I
Yeah.
can tell you we consume a lot of fuel. So you understand the urgency, the need for, yeah, we can't pump it out of the ground anymore. Within a few decades, it will become too costly. The taxes will become too high.
Yeah.
How are we going to solve that? So I'm looking into, let's say, a larger project where, yeah, we're going to convert solar energy into electrical energy, trying to use it to split water into hydrogen, using that hydrogen with nitrogen we take from the air to produce an ammonia molecule. And then we would like to use that molecule on board of our ships, but also transport these molecules towards, let's say, the hungry users, which is Europe, for example. If you now look, Europe is importing 50% of all its energy. I think Europe is not big enough to put everywhere windmills and solar panels, so we're
No.
gonna be importing fuels anyhow in the future, but
Yeah.
it needs to be clean fuels. And then, yeah, I'm triggered by how that could work, what would be the technology behind, and it's at the scale which is unseen before. A combination of technologies which all work independently, but how do you make certain that the ammonia plant only produces when the hydrogen produces when there is sun production? So I think how that all works together triggers me. And yeah, as an engineer, I'm trying to have a big question to be distributed into smaller questions, which we can all solve.
Yeah.
Find the right partners, trying to make a change. But that is really what drives me and is a big interest to me today.
Brilliant. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely get it. And the passion, obviously, as well, comes through in trying to solve
Yeah,
those challenges.
yeah,
Excellent. Okay, so outside of work, what do you do in your spare time? How do you relax? I know you've talked about reading, but what do you do in your spare time?
yeah. Well, in the past, I had the beautiful hobby of gliding. But I said in the past, I did it for 17 years. So flying without an engine, let's say just finding the terminals under a white cloud, going, let's say traveling distances. I was able to travel distance of more than 500 kilometers
Wow.
without any engine on board, just being towed up by another plane, trying to find your updrafts. I was able to fly in the Alps. And for me, it was like the silence of being in the air, trying to find the force of the nature to keep up in the air. That was fantastic. But then, yeah, at some age in your life, you have small kids. You have a family to run. And then it was about setting right priorities. So unfortunately, my flying license expired. But I think as soon as the kids, I have now twins of 8 years, and I have another son of 6 years. So they take a lot of attention, I must say. But as soon as they are more independent, I would really love to have a new, let's say, hobby that gets me involved into forces of nature. Is it now sailing on the water, or is it now sailing back with gliders into the air? Let's see. Let's see what it will become. But for now, I'm just, let's say, working in my garden. I'm, let's say, occupied with doing some mountain biking just to be a bit active on the outside, but not enough as I would like to do, unfortunate. But yeah, it's a balance. And yeah, I would rather have days of 30 hours in order to be able to do everything that I would like to do. But yeah, I think it's the time of the life that it's a busy period. Running a family, running a household, it's consuming, especially also with a job that requires your attention, requires all your energy to bring forward. So yeah, trying
That's
to see some change over the next years, but yeah, it's a challenge, I admit.
absolutely. No, I get it. I get it. And I have spoken to other CTOs who shared similar passions. Whether it be flying aircrafts, gliding, etc. So you know you're in the right space with regards to that, with regards to that type of passion. So, well, it brings us to the end of our CTO News Thursday vlog episode with yourself, Roy. And you know, on behalf of CTO News Thursday, we all like to thank you for giving us such a splendid introduction to CMB.TECH, your journey, becoming a CTO, learning more about dual fuel and, you know, the ambition to go to a monofuel environment and how that's affecting ships and ports, and, you know, the ecosystem that you're looking to reach out to bring that sort of full, you know, cradle to grave or full end-to-end dual fuel technology sort of solution. So yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, and I can see the passion that you have for your sector, for your company, and for the technology that's driving that environment. So it's an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And yeah, thanks. I think it's just, you know, it's just fantastic to have that time. Let me hand over to you, please.
Okay. So also thank you for giving the opportunity. I'm always happy to, let's say, share our vision. Also to have, let's say, I'm doing a lot of, let's say, guided tours at our refueling station, even to youngsters. You can say, what kind of business can I do with the classroom? But for me, it's, yeah, it's part of that, yeah, that journey that I want to have people involved. And I can tell that when I was, yeah, let's say with my own company, just graduated at the university, I also spend a lot of time on telling from in front of the classroom to youngsters. I can tell even some people joined my company 5, 6, 7 years later while I was giving these introductions. So for me, it's like in the renewable world, it's a small world, and I'm happy to share that. And I'm happy you're giving this platform as an opportunity to share what we are working on. And the more people can join, then I see this already as a success. And I would say thanks for the opportunity. Good luck with yeah, with this program, and I really hope that it also has a positive effect for your CTO News group. So happy to be part of this. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Roy. Very much appreciated, and thank you.